Yes, our dear viewer, we are coming live from Kamwokya, where we are going to be hosting the Secretary General of the National Unity Platform. And we are going to be browsing through a number of issues that are concerning the National Unity Platform as a party. And then we are going to see the way forward of the party with the Secretary General, David Lewis Luvongoya. Honorable David Lewis Luvongoya, say hi to our viewers and those that are following us live at this moment.
Good afternoon to all those who are following us on Mulengela Media. I'm very glad to be here and to join all of you this afternoon. And I'm grateful to the media team which is going to be interacting with us. I hope we'll be able to respond to a few questions here and there and see how to move forward.
Thank you very much, sir. OB, is actually my OB, gentlemen and ladies. I would like to brag about it. He was a good leader at Makerere University of the Makerere Society and many other things. Mr. Luvongoya, what exactly do you do as Secretary General of NUP?
Well, as the Secretary General of NUP, I'm a leader within the party, but my role is mostly heading the NUP Secretariat and being able to administer the party in different ways. So that is my mandate under the NUP Constitution. But as you know, in this country, political parties are not really doing exactly what they're supposed to do because of the repression and oppression. So I find myself many times doing a lot more work than I'm actually supposed to do, but that is part of the revolution, that's part of the struggle that we're involved in.
So some people have wondered, how exactly did you get this position? You are certainly the youngest Secretary General in this town.
Well, as you know, I was previously the Executive Secretary of the People Power Movement. When we started the People Power Movement, now maybe 4 years ago, I became the Executive Secretary of the movement then. Maybe about 2.5 years later, we realized that we needed to, go into this platform called a political party to have it alongside the movement. Like we said, there are many factors, but amongst them was that we were approaching elections, and our people were asking us about a symbol, and we needed to get one. So, we actually entered an understanding with the leadership of NUP at the time. Actually, we had been talking for a long time, and we had a delegates conference. And I was elected at the delegates conference, our president was elected at the delegates conference, and other leaders, as you saw. So that's how I became the Secretary General.
So it's not true that you were merely appointed and eventually crowned?
No, of course not. Political parties, you do not just come by appointment, except if that's what the Constitution says. But the Constitution of NUP, as indeed many constitutions, provide for elections within a political party. And at the time, NUP was a very small party with few members. The quorum of the delegates conference was certainly very small. So that's how we were able to get elected at that delegates conference.
It's more than a year since you became SG. What briefly has the NUP party accomplished since you became its Secretary General?
Of course, first and foremost, we won elections. For me, that was the most important task I had to do, to make sure that we win elections across the country. And every Ugandan certainly knows that we won the elections. Although, of course, General Museveni, like he always does, rigged us. But we won elections. We put up a spirited fight. We put up a very big campaign. Maybe amidst all the challenges of COVID and all that, we put up a formidable campaign. Our president and presidential flag bearer was able to go out there, sell our message and vision, and Ugandans embraced it. So first and foremost, that was the biggest accomplishment. But also, to see that NUP, it's now just about 8 months since we launched this political party. But you've seen what we've been able to achieve in terms of membership. We, in a very short time, we're able to register over 1 million members, although we put a halt on that activity because after the elections, we found that we needed to do a lot of strategies to structure and to do a lot of other things which we are discussing. But in a very short time, Ugandans picked NUP cards as if, so that was a very, very big achievement to see that Ugandans at home, in the diaspora, and everywhere decided to join this party, but also to be part of this struggle to change our country.
And as a result of that mass sale for cards, you certainly raised a lot of funding as well. Is that so?
Yeah, but you know that our cards were being sold at just 1,000 shillings, and it was deliberate. We did not want to, charge a lot of money. But also, you remember that this membership I'm talking about is scattered across the country. So we sent out cards. There are certainly many people registered from here, but many others who, got our cards from the ground, from the different districts of Uganda. And those cards which were sold are certainly the ones which supported some of our activities in those districts, some of the candidates in those districts, etc., etc. Yeah.
Now, Chief, as SG, just like you said earlier, it's a full-time thing. You are here Monday to Monday, Monday to Friday. Do you earn a salary out of this?
Well, we're structuring, and we're going to structure at it. We will reach a time certainly where we'll be able to, for example, pay our people, pay leaders, and that kind of thing. But right now, we've not. We've not been paying them. It's just been we've been volunteering. Most of the leaders in NUP have been volunteering, right from our president. Of course, he's been a member of parliament, but as a party, he's not been getting to say the party is paying him or whatever. And that's the same thing with our spokesperson, with our deputy presidents. All of these have been volunteering. Every once in a while, of course, when we are supported through raising funds here and there, we are facilitated to do this work. For example, if a leader has to go to northern Uganda to do something, we'll fuel their car and to enable them move. But in most cases, they don't earn a salary, like a monthly salary or something like that. But we know that as the party grows and gets more structured, we're going to reach there.
So it's not true, as we've repeatedly heard from many people, that the principal personally pays you a salary to be SG?
No, the principal has been facilitating this work from the time NUP, actually from the time where People Power. Honorable Kyagulanyi was mostly using his personal resources to run this work, including facilitating leaders, doing a lot of work to support this movement and the party later on. So it is true that he has been facilitating this work, but not paying individuals. Yeah.
Many people in this country perceive NUP as a part of the younger people. Can we precisely tell the size of the party membership currently?
Oh, like I said, by the time we stopped a bit registering members, especially up country, because we got some challenges. You remember at some point NRM saw how many people were just coming in to take our cards. They immediately started cracking down. And in many cases, soldiers went and even confiscated our party registers in some of the districts. But at least from our records, over 1 million people had registered in the short time when we were trying to register members. Yeah, and like I said, very soon we are going to roll out massively, and we're going to announce it. And I'm sure people will queue up in thousands and thousands. Hopefully the coronavirus situation will have normalized a bit. And if it is still there, we'll devise means around it to make sure that we register members in a safe environment.
You do not think that failure to take power in January this year has diminished their love for the party at all in any way?
Definitely not. You know, the people of Uganda are not fools. They know what happened. They saw what we had in January, on January 14th. They know that the Honorable Kyagulanyi was elected by the majority of the people of Uganda to be the president of this country. He was rigged. And, you know, people need to understand that revolution is not just about an individual. And I think Honorable Kyagulanyi has clearly said it many times, and all other leaders. And indeed, that's why our slogan is people power, our power. We believe in the power of the people. So this is everyone's responsibility in this country. So it's not the failure of one person to take power. We, the people of Uganda, the regime certainly tried to subdue us, but they did not stop us. And you can see that in the constant struggle of the people to reclaim their power. I don't know when it will be. It could be a Monday, it could be a Tuesday, it could be a Sunday. But eventually the people of Uganda are going to reclaim their power and take charge of their country and take charge of their destiny.
It's seemingly a very popular party, not only among the young people, but also in the diaspora. What do you think explains the popularity of this party beyond just the personality of Honorable Kyagulanyi Ssentamu?
Yeah, definitely. NUP is attractive to the people of Uganda, of all ages, of all ethnic groups, of all religions, because of what it stands for. And we've, elaborated our stand, from the time where people power, we started telling people that we wanted to take back the power to the people. In Uganda right now, the biggest problem we have is a governance failure by the Museveni regime. And what that means is that the people of Uganda do not have power. You see that people are disempowered. You look at how the regime is handling the COVID situation. People are nowhere, and they are not in the picture, they are nowhere in the conversation. And so the regime constantly makes sure that the people are suppressed. And we've told the people of Uganda, whether here or in the diaspora, that we want to return this power to them. And that explains why the people support this party with all their lives.
Can there be any UP without Kyagulanyi being in the picture, in your view?
Of course, Honorable Kyagulanyi is a vision bearer of this party and the movement. So it is important that the people continue to be, persuaded by him, to follow his vision and all that. But as he has said constantly, it is actually not him as an individual who people follow. It is what he stands for. It is what he represents. And like he has said, if tomorrow he wakes up and abandons the principles for which he stands today, people will abandon him. So what I can say for sure is that as long as the values or the vision or the thoughts that we represent are there, people will always follow this party called NUP and people power as a concept.
Let's also ask you this hypothetical question.
Yeah.
What difference do you think it would have made if you did not metamorphose into a political party and they continued existing as people power and went into the elections of 2021 as such?
Of course, like we said to the nation, we were looking at all these factors. Of course, as you know, the movement, people power, and I want to really make it clear and remind you that, as we said, people power as an entity still exists and still stands. But we found that we needed to have a political arm of people power in the name of a political party. And the reason why we needed to do that was because, first of all, we wanted to have an identifying symbol. You remember we were telling people vote for the umbrella. Imagine if we did not have that. And even the regime tried so hard to make sure that people were confused even on election day. And when they realized that they're being overwhelmed, that's when they sent in soldiers to start beating up people and to take over the electoral process. So I think it was both advantageous, in many ways, by the way, to go in with the symbol, the umbrella, but also to continue saying people power, our power, because that is mobilization, that is our vision, that's what we stand for, that is our ideology. So I think it was good that we had both the people power movement stand and NUP as a political party.
That was a lot of strategy, and we must commend you for it.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of thinking, really, into these processes. Who
Yeah.
does all of this thinking? Do you sometimes contract some consultants and be able to come up with these excellent strategies?
Of course not. As you know, the people of Uganda are very, very intelligent people, and we have not come out of any other society except the society of Uganda. And we sit together and brainstorm and discuss, and we listen to the people. Every time we go out there and listen to what the people are saying, every time we want to come up with an idea, we consult the elders, the young, the religious leaders. We consult different individuals, although we will not do it quite openly, because as you know, the regime then will pounce on the idea. So we have to do it quietly until we get consensus.
But some people say, and I'm tempted to believe them, that most of these are basically your ideas. You are the originator of many of these brilliant ideas.
Not at all. That's not true. I think we work so much as a team, and we work very, very closely. I mean, look at our president. I don't think he has come this far because, I met him about 4 years ago, but even before I met him, he was doing very, very great things in this country, brilliant stuff, singing very phenomenal songs, able to, mobilize masses. So we work together as a team and we try to discuss together to come up with whatever idea we come up with.
So you don't regret losing some people as a result of forming a party, people like this Professor Nyanzi Stella and a few others?
Of course, you know something called opportunity cost. Every time you're going into a new phase or a new strategy, you will gain certain things and lose certain things. So it's regrettable that we lost some of the members because the political party indeed restricts you. For example, you had to have one candidate. And in many cases, as people power, you had maybe 10 candidates. But if you had 10 candidates, there's no way you would guide the people on who to elect because, you know, just one candidate has to appear with your symbol. So that was a challenge which we looked at. And that is why we are really doing everything possible and, you know, putting efforts together to bring some of those people back and to, you know, say, let's continue struggling together to see that we achieve the goals for which we set out.
So you're basically saying you have made effort to reach out to some of these colleagues and
Definitely,
comrades.
and we continue to.
What's the response? Are they enthusiastic?
Many are enthusiastic, and many are with us. They're working with us. You know, we've been deliberate. We've reached out to even people who run as independents, people who have. We've been reaching out to as many people as possible, and like I said, we continue to because this is not just politics as usual. Our vision is to redeem this country from the oppression and the problems which our people are going through. So it is our deliberate effort to reach out to as many people as possible and bring them back into this whole idea of people power.
Okay. There have been concerns about the quality of membership you have as NUP, a party which many fault for being devoid of intellectuals, as serious thinkers. Many people think there is a lot of sycophancy around the person of Kyagulanyi, to the extent that some people think he is actually infallible. Can't you have heard of that concept of infallibility, which used to be popular in the ancient Rome days? Now, as Secretary General, does that make you proud or worried?
No, I know where it is coming from. It is coming from the detractors. And you know, the detractors, regardless of what you do, they will always find reason to criticize you. But NUP is clear-headed. Our leadership and our membership are clear-headed. The challenge we have in this country, one of the biggest challenges, and many leaders, including Dr. Bestia, has talked about it, is that the elites have in many ways failed to stand up and defend freedom and democracy in this country. And what that means is that the common people are going to come into the picture and take charge of the destiny of their country. So I am very proud of the border riders, of the ice cream sellers, of the furniture makers, of the these people, Mama Kanamu here, Tatani, all these people, the common people in their different respects. I'm very grateful to them because those are the anchor of this revolution. And so anyone who says that NUP is devoid of intellectualism, ask him or her what intellectualism has done to this country. I remember when General Museveni was swearing in his cabinet, the other one, the one in 2016, even after rigging elections, he made a statement which I remember because he was talking to his ministers, and he said that when we were fighting Amin, we thought that his problem was because he had not studied. And he was telling his ministers that it is unfortunate that even you, the educated people with masters and PhDs, have let down your own country. He was talking about corruption and all that. So look at the parliament, look at the whole country is full of these intellectuals, elites, and that kind of thing. So the time is now to bring all efforts together, whether you're an intellectual or not, because we need all these resources from the common people, but also from highly educated people. We need to come together. This is a revolution for a generation. This is a revolution for a country.
Some people think that you actually need to roll out some mentorship program so that you train some of your members and intellectually capacitate them. As Secretary General, is that something you've thought about at all?
Definitely, we are planning to do training, but the training is not to say that we should make people intellectuals, because that word is also sometimes misused. No, we just want our people to have, a basic understanding of governance, of leadership, of modern economics and that kind of thing. And indeed, you know, we have a department of training and patriotic development headed by my brother, Council Waiso Mfumbiro, and he has been doing a lot of work, even without you know, sufficient resources for the party. But we are going to roll out and indeed do activities aimed at training our supporters and leaders in different aspects of leadership. Yeah.
So for instance, do you have a mechanism to reprimand and sanction people who use abusive language and, you know, alienate some people from the party?
Yeah, our view as People Power and NUP is, first of all, not reprimand all the time, but guide. Guide, caution, and that has actually achieved a lot for us. If I remember when we started out as People Power, oh my goodness, there were a lot of issues and we were always meeting different people. Now you've done this, you've done the other, but we believe in persuading people. And some of these people who were very problematic, we've seen them grow into better leaders. Some of them are in parliament today. Some of them are councillors. Others are holding other positions of leadership. So that is always our first approach, to try and guide our people, because we understand, you know, one of the results of the dictatorship for these 36 years has been a failure of leadership, a total failure of leadership. People not appreciating some of the basic things which, you know, you'd expect them to. So if people have come from that background and they're enthusiastic, they want to join a movement like People Power, they want to be part of the struggle, we don't just dismiss them on account of, you know, a mistake they've done. We try to guide them because that's what, you know, we believe in. But those who refuse and it becomes clear that they're either working for the enemy or something like that, there are mechanisms to sanction them. And even as People Power, we used to have disciplinary committee hearings here. Our disciplinary committee under People Power was headed by Dr. Lina Zedriga and having other members. And they used to summon leaders, talk to them, because we call it the disciplinary and reconciliation committee. So that committee did a lot of work to try and reconcile people, enforce discipline, and that kind of thing. And as NUP, our National Executive Committee will sit very soon and again constitute a disciplinary committee for the party.
Okay. You also have something called the SEC, just like we have in the NRM.
No, we don't have SEC. What we have is the Executive Board.
NEC.
We have the Executive Board. So in this party, the highest organ is the Delegates Conference, followed by the National Executive Committee, NEC, followed by the Executive Board, and then you go down. But in NRM, what they call SEC is what in this party is called the Executive Board.
Okay.
But even in other parties, they have different names. Others call them Cabinet, others call them different things. But remember, we inherited a constitution which we are implementing now, and it is due for amendment.
Okay.
And when that time comes for amending this constitution, we are going to seek views from the wider membership of the party, from the different leaders, and then I believe at that time we'll have some of these names change and the organs maybe might either reduce or increase depending on what our membership thinks.
How often do some of these organs meet? Do they meet at all?
They meet regularly. As a matter of fact, you saw us, for example, before we came up with the leadership of parliament. All that was by the resolution of the National Executive Committee, and the committee sat here and passed those names. And you know, because these are some of their functions, to make resolutions of that nature. And the Executive Board meets even more regularly because you remember the Executive Board is the one which was in charge of approving all the leaders who carried our flag for different positions across. But like I said, our constitution is due for amendment, and as and when we reach out to the people, we hope they will give us their views about how this can be more participatory. Because remember, NUP previously, maybe you did not know about it.
It started in 2004.
Exactly. So it had very few people, very few members, and it's the way it was structured and in terms of their constitution and all that, it was a different kind of arrangement. But now that we are talking about the political party with millions of members, we want to have the people, the members, more involved and more participatory. But while also being alive to the fact that we are dealing with a dictatorship, because in a dictatorship, there are certain things you need to think about at the back of your mind, even while you're opening up and making it more participatory. You must be alive to some of the antics which the dictator can use to penetrate these political parties, and you've seen what he has done previously with our sister parties.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Bwana SG, this is a question we intended to raise at some point, but from the feedback we get, I think it's something many people want to hear you talk about.
Yeah.
The issue of Chibalama
Mm.
and the group have lately renewed their demands, their hostilities, to the extent that they have even threatened to, to force Honorable Kyagulanyi out of the party leadership. What's your response, broadly speaking, about all of these issues of Chibalama?
Yeah. Those things are, what I can say is that this is not Mzee Chibalama at work. This is Museveni and his regime at work. And we have made it very clear that the regime will use 2 or 3 things normally. They use coercion, and they use compromise, but many times the coercive element is either through physical violence on you or even using the law to curtail you. And we've been victims of a lot of these things. You remember Honorable Kyagulanyi, Dr. Chiza Besigye, and others were charged with treason. Many are facing treason charges and that kind of thing. So when Mzee Chibalama, he did not even take us to court, but the people, the state used him and other people to take us to court. So all these are antics by the state. What I can say, and you remember Mzee Chibalama was here, and he called all the media houses in this country and said, we did everything. He even said that I'm an old man, I want to go and retire. I'm handing over leadership to younger people to steer the party forward. He talked about how we followed the constitution and everything. And a few days later, these leaders disappeared from us. You remember how
They say you alienated them.
No,
they just disappeared?
You remember you saw what happened in court. These people came to court. We did not know where they had been before then, because every time we used to call their phones, they would be picked by different people who would identify themselves as police officers, as soldiers, and that kind of thing. And you remember what happened in court and whatever, and the court threw out the case. So this is just, first of all, a diversion. Museveni knows that, first of all, we won him in an election. The people of Uganda are continuing to demand for what is their due, all these problems that are happening. And what does he have to do? To divert their attention into non-issues. And so that I want to cluster it in that way, but I've made it clear that we've reached out to these leaders. We've been in touch, actually. It's even very surprising.
Including with Moses?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
I can tell you we've been speaking. You saw us last time we went to see him at Bombo. And when we went there, the soldiers blocked us from seeing him. And they said, if you want to see him, get clearance from the leadership of UPDF. So the next time he appeared in public, he was surrounded by soldiers. So in many ways, he's also not a free man. But every once in a while, we've been talking to them, and like I said the other day, giving them assistance here and there. But we are doing everything possible to make sure that we bring as much harmony, as much unity as possible to see that we move forward.
They have repeatedly referred to an MOU. Is this something you know about as SG?
But like we've said consistently, political parties are run by their constitutions. A political party like NUP or any other political party, the document that guides the political party is the constitution. That's why in amending this constitution, we want to involve the members of the party, because the members of the party are the owners of the party. And the MOU which governs the members, all the members, is called the party constitution, together with other laws like the Political Parties and Organizations Act, as well as the national constitution. So those are the rules which we follow. The constitution of NUP says you acquire leadership, serve for 5 years. After 5 years, there's another delegates conference through which other leaders can come in place, etc., etc., and that's what we are following.
So you are not aware of the MOU, or it doesn't mean anything?
I've said that it has no legal force, and I've repeatedly said this, that a memorandum of understanding is an understanding. And this understanding, it's like a marriage, where you're saying, okay, come and come, and the assumption is that you're going to move together. And so if along the way, some of the leaders decide to take a different path, you go back to the constitution, which is the supreme law governing the political party. In this case, NUP Constitution of 2004, which we intend to amend as soon as possible.
What exactly do you find to be anomalous in that constitution that requires amending urgently?
The reason why I want to amend that constitution is because it does not match the times, really. This is a constitution of 2004. So a lot of things have since changed. But we also, like I said, At the time, NUP had, I don't know how many members, very, very few members. So to an extent that, for example, the quorum of the delegates conference was about 40 people. But here we're talking about a national party now as it
Millions.
is, of millions of people. So we want to, broaden it a bit, make sure that members have more powers to participate, to contribute, and those are the kinds of things. But also to bring it in tandem with the laws of Uganda as they have evolved since 2004.
Because Mabilis actually was trying to challenge this constitution. Have you heard about that at all?
Which one?
Mabilis, this lawyer, Male Mabilis, was almost...
Well, I've not followed that, but what I can say is that we intend to amend our constitution to make it more participatory and more democratic. Also, one of the reasons why it is important to look at this constitution is because the members, most of the members are new. So I want to give them an opportunity to guide on how they think their party should be run. Even just that itself. If they say that some of these things we should retain, we'll retain them. If they, on the other hand, say that some of these things should change, we'll change them, and that's what we intend to do.
SG, I consider this to be critically important. Let me raise it too.
Yeah.
The Chibalama group have repeatedly said that one or two of their members were supposed to have offices at the headquarters. Did you ever locate an office space for Kagombe, for instance?
Definitely. Like I said before, these people disappeared from us. They were working here. We were always with them. And these people who were part of these discussions, the two others, are still working with us. One is our deputy head of policy, another is the head of research. And if you contact them, Mr. William Odinga or Winston Chigozi, they are working with us. Because even last time they were not party. They also said they were surprised because they were like, what happened? How did this happen? These other comrades disappeared from them. But like I said, our approach is to bring even this, because we know that Mzee Chibalama, it's not about him or Mr. Simbwa. It is a state which was trying to use them to bring all this chaos. So it's not our intention to be in wars with those people. They certainly played a fundamental role. They made a contribution. And our appeal to them has been, do not allow to be used by the dictatorship. Come, let's see how to move forward, to move things forward in a more peaceful, in a more cordial way. But if you want to allow to be used by the regime, you will not succeed because the regime has not succeeded. Everyone they've tried to use, they normally abandon them, and then this will become destitute and all that.
Have you lastly spoken to either Moses Chibalama or
You want me
Simbwa?
to tell you that also? But I spoke to him even yesterday. And I spoke to Simba 2 days ago. So we talk to them. These are individuals we talk to. But again, even when we are speaking to them, the message is, please do not accept to be used. When we went to Bombo, to Simzei Chibalama, you think we went without talking to them? We were in touch with them. We talked to Simba and said we were coming to Simzei, and he was there waiting for us. But when he tried to open for us to go and see him, the soldiers came and said, no, you cannot see him.
Would you, for instance, mind driving to his home at Vuamba and speak to the media jointly?
But
Couldn't
I've told
that
you,
help?
some of those things will come, as and when they come. But if you saw my post, which I put on Facebook some time back, when Mzee Chibalama was sick, I did mention that I had gone there to see him. So all this, like I said, you saw him being surrounded by the army, and I personally believe that whatever he has said these past days, it is not him speaking, it is the state speaking through him. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Because I imagine that's a very uncomfortable thing to discuss as a party that prefers to resolve things internally.
Yeah, but again, it's important for us to be as transparent as possible and tell people. First of all, Ugandans need to know that we are fighting a dictatorship. A dictatorship by its very nature will use everyone. They've tried to use me, they've tried to use everyone. They've reached out to all of us, the leaders.
Use you to do what?
They want to use you to
Disorganize
divert
things.
Their aim is always to dissuade, disorganize, divert, derail, all those things, destroy. So they will use whoever they can to try and bring the party down. But for now, we thank God that we're able to stand. But most importantly, we thank God that the people of Uganda actually understand the truth and they are continuing. They certainly read through all these maneuvers by the state. And you know, it's not, the problem is when you focus on the Chibalama. Look at everything else the state has tried to do ever since we set out. They tried to ban people power. You remember that? They said people power is a registered entity. Someone called Balam went and registered it as an NGO looking after old people. Then they came out and banned the Red Berets. Then they went on to say that people power, they went to court. They said, how can people power have coordinators? They took us to the Constitutional Court, which case was recently dismissed. They charged several leaders with treason. You remember Chairman Nyanzi and others, and Honorable Chagrany and others were charged for protesting against the mobile money tax. They've done everything. Then they went for the academic papers of our President, Honorable Chagrany. He said he was not qualified to run. Then they went for...
That was Mavirizi.
But of course, like I said, you think the state is not, does not have legs and blood. The state works through people. It never works through itself. It works through people. Yeah.
So would like to revisit this issue briefly of abusiveness, you know, and the people being intolerant in this organization. You as Secretary General have actually been a victim of some of these abusive users of social media, holding themselves out to be NUP diehards based in the diaspora. Without going into names, sir, why do you think some of these people are against you?
There are three things that you need to understand, but most importantly, that we are fighting a dictatorship, a manipulative, brutal, corrupt dictatorship, which will go to any length to achieve its objectives. And so, some of the people, of course, who say those things are sponsored. You know, someone is sponsored to go and claim that Honorable Chagulanyi was given a vehicle by the state. 2 days later, the very state which they claim gave him the car captures it and takes it away. Someone comes up and says NUP is whatever they come up with. So most of these are part of the grand scheme of trying to manipulate, trying to divide people, but also trying to divert people. Why should the conversation at this stage, when people are dying, they are hungry, they are starving, why should there be a conversation with all this propaganda that I sometimes see? The cause should be the first and foremost thing that people concentrate on. But that said, there are also individuals, of course, who, you know, may not have enough information. And you know now, with social media, everyone is a journalist. So just like you in your journalism, you have some unethical journalists who will go and maybe report a news story that is not accurate and that kind of thing. What do you do? So as NUP, what we try to do, because some of the people who misuse social media are comrades who we work with, and we always reach out to them. Every time I see someone say something maybe that is not accurate, I will call them and say, you know, you posted this, but I think it is wrong. Of course, as we continue to grow a robust political party, a robust movement, we are going to even reach a time of training some of these bloggers who really love NUP, but maybe sometimes they speak out of lack of information. But also, you know, like I said, we need a lot of training, we need a lot of all this capacity building which we need to give to our people. So maybe that is something we need to look at also.
Now, SG, this very matter, is it something you ever get an opportunity to discuss with your president? What does he say, for instance, about these people? Does he intend to come out and denounce them?
It depends which people, because like I said, they are different people. And our president has spoken out not once, not twice. And he has made it clear that some of these people are used by the regime to divide, to divert, to derail. Others are well-intentioned comrades. Someone comes up with a story, maybe thinking it is either either it is true, or someone comes up with a story simply to get, you know, a lot of traction on social media and that kind of thing. And our duty as leaders, including our president, has been to guide the people. But like I said, you know, the president has a lot of work different levels. There's a lot of work, so sometimes we are not able to be everywhere, and that is why we need to build capacity, to have leaders at different levels, to have maybe a stronger department for media and online communication, so that all that is guided moving forward.
Then we have this problem of people using pseudonyms. It's something even some of the people who have left NUP have talked about, people like Ashburger Kato, that people in this party, some leaders, a section of them, believe in using fake accounts on social media to actually attack other people, fellow colleagues in the opposition. Actually, let me add this. There are also claims that the principal himself operates more than 30 such accounts through some of his assistants. And is this true, sir, or false?
Of course, if you say the principal, I mean, he doesn't have time for that, first of all. That's what I can say. He's too busy focusing on a lot of work to get involved in that. However, what I can say is that what you're saying is not just unique to NUP. Like I said, with the advent of social media, every organization, whether political, social, academic, or otherwise, is dealing with this challenge of miscommunication, misinformation, all that. I mean, even the UN, the other day there was a subcommittee of the UN discussing this matter of misinformation, even around COVID. You know, there has been a lot of misinformation and that kind of thing, but part of it is because everyone is a journalist, and that has come with many benefits, but it comes with many challenges as well. And one of the challenges is this. So what I can say is that we are going to continue reaching out to these individuals, even us ourselves trying to, get further training and up our game and make sure that we overcome some of these challenges. Yeah.
Thank you. The other issue is that you are one of the people who are very close to Honorable Kyagulanyi, your former student. What in your estimation makes him tick as a leader? Is there one or two great things that you think people don't even know about him?
No, I think Honorable Kyagulanyi has largely lived a public life, so people know him, and that's why they follow him. That's why they love him. For me, why I decided to work with him was because he understands the people, and he loves the people, and he loves the country. Like I wrote previously, my first time to interact with him very closely, of course, initially he was my student, we were discussing in class, and I could see an extremely intelligent gentleman who, was well versed with the issues that were happening in this country. But, when I went for his show, one time I went for his show at Busabala, and I was amazed by his connection with the common person. After that show, people were, these people who were shouting, calling upon the people they had come with to return. People were like, oh, abavude guru, abavude mbalala, abavude wa. And for me that was surprising and exciting to see that he would have a show at Busabala and people would move from as far as Gulu, from as far as Arua, to come and listen to him.
This is the Easter Monday show or the Charenga one?
No, this was, I think, called Aida show, something like that. Aida something. So it was very interesting to see how he had been able to connect with so many people. And I can tell you, I had never been part, and previously I was a preacher, I would see very big crusades and all that, but I had never been part of a congregation as big as the one that was at Busabala. There were so many people.
People had paid.
Yet people had paid to enter. So for me, I started, getting very, very, and so when I met him the next time at the university, I asked him, man, how are you able to do this? And he was very humble in his response. I say, it's nothing, it's by the grace of God, whatever. And so I saw that he was not even proud in his own achievements, but he was very humble. And, there were a few times when we drove around and in his Tundra vehicle, and he would once in a while stop and talk to a person selling oil, cooking oil. And for me that was very, very touching and interesting. And if you sit with the Honorable Kyagulanyi and he tries to explain to you the ordinary economics of the ordinary people of Uganda, you'd be amazed. He knows the economy of the common person, leave alone these high things of GDP, whatever, all that. If you began discussing with him about the real problems of a common person. So one time I remember he was trying to explain to me how this person who sells cooking oil on the roadside is able to make profits and take her children to school, pay off rent, and struggle to live. Of course, with all the challenges, you know, but for me, I saw a person who understands the common person very, very well. And I think that's why the common people love him. Just listen to his songs. One of his earlier songs that I loved so much was this song where he says, "Chikumi cho chirie." And, you know, for me, it spoke to me again about a person who understands the struggle, the hustle of the common person. Yeah.
You know, there are some people who have believed that this certainly is the reason why you christened him the Monica Principal. Is it true you are the one who coiled
Of course not.
that title?
I did not. That name came up naturally. In fact, the first time I had people call him Principal were in Germany. I think when he was invited to perform, and the team in Germany was calling him the Principal, because he's a principal of the delegation. He's a principal. He's a leader. So it's not because of anything else. It just came up naturally. And at the time, you know, we did not have these party positions of president and all that kind of thing. So people decided to name him Principal. And they just like I cannot say how did he come to be known as a ghetto president before, or Mubanda wa Kabaka. These are titles which come naturally because of the role you're playing or because of the work you're doing.
Like the title from what you know.
He doesn't like a lot of honors. That's what I know. Some of these things make him uncomfortable, and but he has nothing to do but to go with them because people will insist on calling him.
Personally, I think it's good for him because it distinguishes. You know, we have only one principal in this town.
Well, like I said,
it distinguishes him.
No, actually now he's a president, and I prefer to call him president because first of all, he won an election in this country. Secondly, he's a president of NUP, so I would prefer to call him president. But even principal, I don't mind calling him that name.
I will briefly tell you a small story. I used it to work at Red Pepper.
Yeah.
One time I wrote a story that Honorable Kyagulanyi was going to stand in Kampala Central when we still had Elias Lukwago. I was almost taken to court. Kyagulanyi himself was not happy. There are people who have believed that maybe he even delayed, he should have come earlier in the political space. What do you think?
Maybe I'm one of those people who think he should have come earlier, but I believe in God's timing. God's timing is always the best. I believe that the time when he became the president, or even when we started this People Power movement and the entire idea, was the right time. I believe there's a reason why in the middle of a term, there was an opening through a by-election. I do not believe that things just happen for the sake of it. I believe that some of these things are divine. And so my view is that he came at the right time, and everything that we were doing is at the right time. And certainly, we are going to be able to remove the dictatorship. And I believe that we shall do it, and this is the right time for us to do it.
Okay. Chief, there is this question also. You know, I've always been in my office watching your activities at Kamwokya.
Yeah.
There is this question it has always intrigued me, and I know it has intrigued many other people. Why is it that each time you have a major media event at Kamwokya, and the principal is in attendance, nobody else gets permitted to talk?
But that's not
Why
true.
is it
I'm
so?
going to interrupt your question. That is not true. Every time the president is here for an activity, I normally speak, Joel, Honorable Mpuga if he's there, Mama Lina Zedriga, the presidents from Western Uganda at other places, they are not always given an opportunity to speak, and he comes last. So
these guys, I think, who only highlight his part
no,
of
no,
the event.
the media, of course, has to highlight his Time he's there, many people get opportunity to speak, so it's not true that he's the only person allowed to speak.
So wekitiibwa tweyanziza nnyo, tusaba tuyimiriremu wano katono tukomewo budakiika butono tumalirize ekintu kino ssebo, tweyanziza nnyo.
Okay, Sebo.